and a detransitioner's journey. That and more coming up. Welcome to Newsmakers, a show where we go behind the headlines each and every week to bring you interviews with pastors, entertainers, politicians, and other notable figures. On today's Newsmakers, we start with detransitioner Ollie London's journey from gender confusion to faith. Let's welcome Ollie to Newsmakers. Well, Ollie, we've got a lot to discuss today. It has been 2 years since you detransitioned, and you came on maybe about a year or two ago and told your story. You've got a crazy backstory, but the faith part of it is really interesting to me. You know, I remember last time we talked, you said that, becoming a Christian, meeting other Christians, it was amazing that they treated you really well. You were warmly received. Just talk a little bit about, I'm sure there are ups and downs and difficult moments, but coming into faith, how has it shifted your perspective on really every issue under the sun?
Well, firstly, it makes you realize, the important things in life. So, for instance, in Galatians, it says you are judged by your faith, not by your works. So, I think that's a message that I take personally, and many people can take personally, is like if we devote ourselves to faith, to following the teachings of Jesus, to doing good in the world, and to trying to also better ourselves, becoming a better person, trying to understand people that may have differences, trying to educate people about, bringing communities together, whether that's Christian communities, Jewish communities, or else what, and, supporting other people and having an understanding. So, for me, I think it's been a very powerful thing. And, for any Christian, I think it's important to welcome new people as well, because there's a lot of young people that are being led astray these days. They are not connecting with God. God is being taken out of the classrooms in some places. And, I think it's something that the young generation is missing. And for me, when I found faith in God, it gives you that happiness, it gives you the purpose. And I think, that is the most important thing in life. It's not material possessions, it's not other things. It's literally having that, renewed sense of purpose and wanting to help others.
What was your epiphany moment for you, right? Because obviously anybody who decides to detransition, you have to come to that position. What was it for you that made you finally say, okay, this is it, I need to change back?
Well, I just wasn't happy. And, I was reflecting for many, many months about, do I continue down this path? Do I continue getting more and more surgeries? And at the end of the day, it was only giving me a temporary happiness for a couple of months every time I would do something. And I was thinking, can I live my life, the rest of my life like this, being unhappy and pretending to be happy, putting on a smile, putting on the makeup, pretending to be happy? Or can I actually take a step back and think, how can I change this mentality? How can I fix my thinking? And it's a very difficult thing. Again, going back to the link like addiction, it's a very difficult thing to get out of that headspace and to be strong and to say, you know what, I need to make some changes in my life. It's very, very tough. But again, that's where going to church and Christianity came into my life, because that was the stepping stone for me to feel encouraged to change. That was the stepping stone that helped me feel some strength that I can actually do this. Because before I was thinking, I can't get out of this now. I'm trans. I'm trapped like this now. I better continue to be happy. So that for me was a big, big stepping stone, and giving me the internal strength to say, you know what, I need to take a step back and find that inner happiness.
As we are at this 2-year anniversary of your detransition, what are you most thankful for to God? What are you most thankful for in life as you just reflect on that journey, that 2-year journey? It has not been easy, but here you are able to talk about it and help others.
Well, yeah, the thing I'm most grateful for is learning a life lesson. Going through these struggles, while difficult as it was, is helped me be a lot happier. I dedicate my time now to try and raising awareness of issues in the world. I'm visited Israel. I've during the war, I've tried to help other communities and help educate people about what's going on in the world and trying to do good, doing a lot of charity projects for women's rights as well. So that's given me, again, a sense of purpose. And, I do try to encourage my young followers as well. If you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling unhappy, why not just walk into a church? Because I guarantee you that will change your life, because Christians are very kind people. They're non-judgmental. And I think that's what a lot of people trapped in this gender cult feel, is that, oh, Christians are judging us, they're not accepting. But actually, Christians are the most accepting community. They don't judge you for their past. They actually want to try and help you redeem yourself. And, as Galatians says, you're judged for your faith. So I think I would encourage any young person, go step inside the church, and that will change your life. And, open a Bible. If you don't like reading, go watch a YouTube video with, somebody reciting some of the Gospels. Do something like that. Just a small change in your life can give you enough strength to try and turn your life around.
Well, and you have done that. You have turned your life around, and looking forward to having you back again very soon. If people want to connect with you, because you're very active on social media, where's the best place for them to go and do that?
Thank you so much, Billy. So on X, it's Ollie London TV, where I share a lot of issues and news stories going on in the world. And Instagram is London Ollie as well.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Billy. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Be sure to continue praying for Ollie and other detransitioners as they navigate this complex issue and find freedom. We'll be right back in just a moment with more Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. Next up, Pastor Sam Rodriguez joins us to preview what immigration will look like during a second Trump term and why he believes so many Latino voters chose the former president at the polls. Let's welcome Sam Rodriguez to Newsmakers. Now, I'm going to ask you a loaded question here, and it's one that you're used to. Obviously, one of the big issues that I think also helped Trump was the border, right? The immigration issue. There's a lot of consternation surrounding that. It's a hot topic, border. How, from your view, should Christians be approaching this issue?
With a biblical lens, with Matthew 25 and Leviticus 19, it should be a lens of compassion and the rule of law. Romans 13, obey the government as it pertains to laws that are in there for the preservation of liberties and rights and the security of families and homes. So Christians should be saying, we are a sovereign nation. We need to have immigrants coming to our country. In the words of Donald Trump, by the way, he said that in his acceptance speech when he won that night, which to me was amazing. How he said, we need immigrants to come here. We want immigrants to come here, but we want them to come here legally. That was beautiful. I completely echo that. Far different from 2016, 2017. So his arc has likewise changed. But I want you to hear me. Deportations will take place. The Christians will begin to struggle with this idea of mass deportations. I'm going to tell you who will be deported. And inside baseball here. They're going to come after the criminal element. Tom Holland is going to come after the criminal element. They're going to come after those that are involved in gangs, the rapists, the murderers, the drug dealers. They're going to come after every illegal immigrant in America that's involved in nefarious activities. That's what they're going to come after, the criminals. And then they're going to come after single males that came in here in the past 3.5 years. Single males that they have no idea where they came from. And they're going to come after that. The idea that they're going to come after families that have been here for 25 years. You
don't have any concern over that, because that's obviously the big narrative right now. Is they're going to break families up. This is sort of the narrative.
I have to be careful because I do have access to. I have, by the grace of God, I have access to the team, and what I can tell you is. That's not going to happen. But those that came in here recently, as it pertains to single males and those that are involved in nefarious activities primarily, yeah, there's going to be a mass deportation effort.
When it comes to the mass deportation issue and the debate, there's going to be a debate about this in Christian circles. There already is. How are you equipping your church in terms of dealing with it, the possibility of it, what that looks like, even obviously the issue itself, but even the debate around how Christians should be handling these issues?
Yeah, first of all, what we need is a come to Jesus moment in a good way with the Christians that were vehemently opposed. There was a small section, about 20%, the never Trumpers, who were vehemently opposed to the candidacy of Donald Trump. They need, and some of them have, and I don't chastise them, by the way. These are my brothers and sisters in Christ who I love. And they're not evil people. They're phenomenal people. They're great people.
It was a
And they
difference
just
of
had,
opinion. It was a difference of opinion. Right.
And difference of opinion, and they just, didn't what, and I respect that. I actually respect that. But there needs to come to Jesus moment where at least we need to understand what prompted this incredible landslide, what prompted even more Christians to support Donald Trump than the last time around, and then to look at these issues from a holistic, comprehensive lens. Put on your 5G. And because again, Sam Rodriguez, I will not tolerate, I will speak up, Billy, everywhere if I see the government coming after families that have been here for years, right? I will be the first one to speak up because that's not who we are, right? You've been here 15, 20, 25 years and so forth, and your kids were born here. We're not into separating families at all whatsoever. But on the same card, we need to look at this from a comprehensive lens of security, and even security of communities like ethnic communities. These gangs from Venezuela and others that have come in, they're impacting primarily communities of color. So if you care, if you are a bleeding heart Christian and you care for these communities of color, and many Christians do, then you want to address this immigration issue in a way where you do deport those that are involved in nefarious activities while protecting families. So that conversation needs to take place. It will take place. Starting January, we're going to see that, and we're going to hear false rumors, and we're going to hear these crazy stories emerge, and then we're going to have to verify, right? But at the end of the day, I think the Christian community can serve as a reconciliatory prescription for some very interesting times that are forthcoming, and that I would argue are necessary.
What's your advice right now to Christians to be more knowledgeable on this issue? Because I think a lot of Christians out there, they don't really know the immigration issue well. They don't really understand the border issue well. They may be seeing headlines about it, but outside of that, they're busy. They don't have the time to dig in. What's your advice for maybe helping us all become a little bit more competent and prayerful in how we deal with it?
Yeah, you need to, again, Leviticus 19, Matthew 25, Romans 13, read on that. Because any Christian, that 20% I just referenced, any Christian who believes in open borders, what you're talking about is an utopia, a theocracy, the New Jerusalem. We're not there yet. That requires Jesus as King to reign supreme, not just spiritually, but physically, meaning being here present on earth, the New Jerusalem, and doing his thing. That hasn't happened yet. So don't expect that. This idea of open borders, we should be a borderless society. Good luck with that. Wait till Jesus, establishes the kingdom. If you're born again and you accept him as a savior, you'll be part of that kingdom. But until then, we need to protect every single nation's sovereignty. It's called the rule of law, and respect and protect the citizenry. So it begins with that. The second thing we have to look at is the impact, the social economic impact, even the impact on families and healthcare services when communities are inundated with an influx of undocumented individuals. The services that Latinos and African Americans and Asians and other minority communities are receiving, these services diminish exponentially the moment there is a flood of unexpected individuals that inundate and break the system. Hence Los Angeles and hence other cities across America that just can't take it. America's infrastructure, primarily on issues of healthcare and on education, these two areas cannot handle an unbridled, unstoppable, unmeasurable influx of undocumented individuals. It's not who we are. And no other nation has an infrastructure that says to infinity and beyond. It's not what we do as governments or as individuals.
Sam Rodriguez, as always, appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Immigration is a deeply complex topic. Be sure to be praying for our leaders as they navigate through tough decisions. We'll be right back in just a moment with more Newsmakers on the CBN News Channel. Welcome back to Newsmakers on the CBN News Channel. For our final segment, we are sitting down with director Richard Hall to talk all about his new documentary that he made alongside actor Chris Pratt. It's called Fighting Spirit, A Combat Chaplain's Journey, and it released November 8th in theaters. Let's welcome Richard to Newsmakers. So Fighting Spirit, A Combat Chaplain's Journey, where did the idea come from? What did you learn? What was the most shocking thing that you learned about these chaplains who are out there doing incredible work?
So on the one hand, chaplains go into combat wearing a uniform, but not carrying a weapon, which you got to scratch your head and go, why would anybody do that? You know, it's a profession that obviously you don't just do for a paycheck. You do it for some higher calling. And calling is the word we use in the movie, and that's probably a pretty good word. I'm not even sure you can put why they do it into words. And so, but their workplace is sort of at the collision of this very opposite thing, which is the chaos of war. And I just didn't think that we had ever explored that cinematically before. And that's really what was so interesting for me. And so there have been 419 chaplains that have died throughout U.S. history, fighting in every U.S. battle we've ever had. The chaplains were started by George Washington, and so they've been around for a long time. And, you know, I'm a non-veteran. My dad is a veteran. My family members are veterans. But every veteran I talk to has got a story about a chaplain. And that may just be a small moment where the chaplain influenced their life, or it could be a big moment where the chaplain saved their life. But chaplains are really revered in the military, and it's hard for people outside the military to know that. And so I'd say probably the biggest thing I learned is also the biggest challenge that we had, which is pulling the stories out of the chaplains, because they don't like to be part of the story traditionally. And that's why we don't know their stories. They like the spotlight to shine on the soldiers who they're there to serve, and those soldiers serve us as Americans, and that's the way they like it. So pulling these things out turned out to be very difficult, but also one of the more interesting things about the movie. And ultimately, I think what I learned about them is also sort of the call to action in the movie, which is that one person can make a difference. And, you know, as we say in the movie, sometimes what a chaplain does is they're just present, and they're dealing with these moments of life and death with soldiers, young and old, and families. And it's really intense, and it's really powerful, and it's very existential. And a chaplain may come from a particular faith, and all faiths are represented in the chaplain corps of all the different military branches. It's, you know, Christian and Catholic and Protestant and Jewish and Muslim and you name it. But when you're on the battlefield, you're dealing with soldiers of all faiths and no faiths. And it's a real opportunity for people of faith to live their life in a very, you know, faith forward way. It's an incredibly unique example of living your faith. And all of that was just so interesting to me that I just couldn't say no to it. It just really captivated me as a storyteller.
So before we go, I want to ask you a little bit more about Chris Pratt, because obviously Chris Pratt's an A-list actor. People know him. He's also been a very outspoken proponent of military and America and the nation. And so getting him involved, how hard was that? How did that come about? Would love to just hear a little bit of his involvement in this project.
Well, this is my 28th movie as a producer, and it's my first as a director. And so I do know my way around Hollywood and have been doing this a while. And my one of my other partners, Daniel Snyder, who also produced the film, has been doing the same for about as long. And between the two of us, along with our partners at Paulus Productions, we know a few folks. And so I think it's a really good strategy for a documentary to try to bring in a person that's got a big platform, particularly if it checks all the right boxes and feels authentic. And Chris was that guy for us. He's a big military supporter. He's a very faith-forward guy. I mean, he really has a true heartfelt interest in telling these stories, most of which have never been told. And so I think the other thing that's interesting about it is, Chris has really tried to sort of calm the storm during the last few weeks of the presidential race. And he's been vocal about that. And I think that's part of the opportunity here. By putting the movie in theaters, yes, we are doing it because it's Veterans Day. That's pretty obvious. And it's a good way to go and celebrate veterans. But it's also a few days after the presidential election. And, you probably use a little healing here, all of us. And so forcing people to come into a movie theater together with folks who maybe they don't even agree on everything, but you can find common ground in the role that combat chaplains play and the heroic actions that they have. And so that's a great way to start conversations with your neighbors. It forces people to come together. And so that was very intentional because the movie is only available in theaters. You can't get it anywhere else, not on streaming. It's only available in theaters. And I think that's probably one of the things that Chris was responding to. And even larger than that, I might argue that we've made a superhero movie, but we don't have a superhero movie marketing budget. And so I think it's an opportunity for people to kind of vote, I guess in a presidential election week, that's, a good word, but to vote by going to movie theaters this weekend on opening weekend. And when you buy a ticket, you send a signal to the theater owners. These are the kinds of movies I want to see in theaters and I'm willing to show up, because right now people generally just go to movie theaters for superhero movies and, maybe an occasional horror movie and maybe a animated family movie, but that's about it. And so if you're going and you're supporting a movie like this, you're going to see more of them. I mean, the theater owners are in the business of selling tickets. And so if they see a bunch of tickets being sold around a faith-based and military-focused movie that really deals with patriotism, they're going to give you more of them. And so I think that was another thing that Chris really sort of responded to as well.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time. Again, it's Fighting Spirit. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
You can find out more about the film at fightingspiritfilm.com. We'll be right back in just a moment with more Newsmakers. That's all for Newsmakers. Thank you for watching, and be sure to head on over to the CBN News YouTube channel. That's where you can find the full interviews you saw on today's episode. Plus, you can check out our new daily Newsmakers podcast. We feature one full interview every single day. Be sure to subscribe to that podcast on your favorite platform. As for this show, we'll see you again